If you've got a lot of worms, if you're on a fast and you're fasting and you're on a diet and you get a headache, you got the headache because the worms are all peeing, trying to get you to eat something else. They're trying to make you sick so you'll get off of what you're doing and start eating. So you take some arginine and orthodine, in a matter of 20 minutes, if the headache's gone, you've neutralized the worm urine and you know that you're loaded. Children that have little tiny pimples on the backs of their arms or little tiny pimples here on the edges of their cheeks have 5 varieties of critters in them. 5 varieties. It's time to deworm and it's time to get them out. Now what I found out is that vibration and frequency is everything. It is literally everything. If you take an aspirin, it changes the way you vibrate. And so it blocks the nerves so that you can't feel pain. If you take deworming programs, you change your vibration, and you change your vibration so dramatically that the worms and parasites either have to get out of you, this is no longer a good home, or they die in you. And then your lungs and your liver and all that stuff happen.
So today I go and open my Wells Fargo app, and I come across this, y'all. Isn't this what we've been seeing in the skies as of late? This huge red moon looking thing? See, I told y'all, they know exactly what is going on. Just because the media isn't talking about a specific subject does not mean they're out of the loop. They know exactly what's going on. But look at this huge moon that Wells Fargo is showing us. Not just a huge moon, but a red moon at that. That looks like a giant sun. And then you see this huge moon recorded in Mexicali just last week, y'all. Look at that. The red moon, the huge red moon that we just seen in the Wells Fargo app. Look, they be telling y'all, pay attention to what exactly is going on in the world. Look how big that thing is. When have y'all ever seen the moon that huge? Or is it the moon? Is it the moon? That looks crazy. It looks just like the app. The symbology here is literally out of this world because Wells Fargo is a bank and you can see the riverbank here. And then this moon keeps us in this illusion which is called time. And time is ran by Saturn, also known as Chronos, which is father time. This is why they say time is money, because the timekeeper is actually the moon. And how much of a coincidence is it that we're about to have the Hunter's full moon coming up soon? And now look at that. Look how crazy that looks. But like I keep telling y'all, interesting times that we live in, y'all. This is strictly for entertainment purposes only. I am only raising awareness to interesting situations during these interesting times. Thank you for tuning to my frequency. Let's get this shift, y'all. Peace out.
Today in science news, evidence of negative time found in quantum physics experiment. Physicists showed that photons can seem to exit a material before entering it, revealing observational evidence of negative time. Where's that music coming from? No, wait.
Ha! I think we found the real map, my friends. Map and the moon overlay. Are you seeing this? When the map is overlaid on the moon, it looks like the moon knows something. This is creepy. From what these videos you have been seeing about the moon.
Okay, back here in Tucano, the boiling roads. So, with no shoes, the ground's quite hot. Ow, shit. Yeah, that's boiling. Steamers going off. Yeah, I don't want to touch that again. So I wanted to have a look down in the drain, see what was happening, but it was just stinkers. And it didn't appear to be boiling down there.
Crazy things caught on camera. This security camera has captured a dog doing something pretty extraordinary. Basically, he's sitting there minding his business when he starts walking over to this lady who is also minding her business on the sidewalk or on the little ledge right here. Now, he starts barking at her a lot as if something is wrong, but there's clearly nothing happening. There's nobody like around this person, but the dog is very agitated, so he starts to drag the lady away from where she's sitting. And the lady gets mad, like, why is this dog dragging me away? She goes to sit back down, and the dog will not let her sit down, okay? He's going to keep grabbing a hold of her clothes and dragging her away from this one spot. And now, all of a sudden, where he just dragged her away from, this giant tree branch literally falls and crashes down where it would have been hitting.
This photographer prints photographs on glass. Mathieu Cotterette creates beautiful prints with the traditional printing process called cyanotype printing. But instead of printing on paper, he prints his photos on glass. These are his most impressive works. The secret lies in gelatin, which acts as a binding agent, allowing the cyanotype chemicals to adhere to the smooth surface of the glass, ensuring a sharp and vibrant image. His process begins with a photograph. He then coats a pane of glass with a mixture of gelatin and cyanotype chemicals. After coating, the glass is dried in the dark, and next a negative is placed on top of the glass and exposed to UV light. He's known for using other techniques too, like ambrotype printing, and sometimes finishes his work with a beautiful soldered copper foil frame. But I'm also obsessed with the way he captures the forest and seascapes. I share inspiration from living artists around the world every week in my art newsletter. You can join on my profile.
Check this out, guys. This is a living stump. You can see it was cut down this tree, and the wood continued to grow and sealed over that cut. And the reason it was able to do that is because this tree, these are both Douglas firs, their roots were grafted, they were connected underground, and when this tree was cut, this tree continued to supply this one with water and nutrients and stuff to grow wood. So you're left with a living stump.
Hey, are you seeing this? My friends, mysterious things. Ooh, is this lightning man or what's up? God. Whoa, what is this thing trying to enter in the plane? Oh my god. These are movie stuff. Some place it's raining fish. This is mysterious, crazy, unbelievable. Fish! A fish rain. Oh my god. If that's what the people in the desert experienced when manna was raining, must have been creepy. Look at this guy's shadow here. Oh my god. What's up with his hand? Oh my god. Even more mysterious things. Look at this. Growing what? Are these prints? No, I don't think so. Just like this floating metal stuff here on some place. Ooh. And it's not one.
The strange metal plate attached to a ship's rope is called a rat guard. Rat guards are devices that prevent rats from climbing aboard ships via ropes when docked. They're typically circular or cone-shaped metal plates. Rats can spread diseases, spoil food, and their rapid breeding can quickly become a major problem. For centuries, sailors have battled rat issues, and this simple solution has long been effective. It continues to play a crucial role even on modern vessels. Though small, rat guards are essential equipment for maintaining a ship's hygiene and safety.
So as of right now, it seems that nobody can find the moon. And y'all remember that video from Scotland when the face showed up next to the moon? Well, this one over here is in London just before the moon disappeared again. And you can see the face right next to the moon. Look at that. But right now, nobody can find the moon. Look at that. Like it's right there in the clouds. Y'all see that? And why does it look like a projection? Y'all see that? So this right here is in London, and this right here was taken in North Carolina right before Hurricane Helene. Y'all check this out. Look at that. You're gonna see two moons up there, right? But at the same time, you can see the face over here. Y'all see that? Look at the two moons. Look at that. Wow. So this is right, and then now nobody can find on the moon. Nobody knows where the moon is. That thing is just up and at them. Just like disappear completely. Isn't it supposed to be a new moon? Isn't it supposed to be a new moon? And we just had a solar eclipse. Look at that, y'all. But let me know if y'all seen the moon down in the comments below, y'all. This thing is getting crazy.
I'm going to summarize everything I know about psychology in just a few words. And I've studied psychology for a very long time, but essentially it comes down to one premise. And that is scarcity is stressful for the mind, abundance is healing, and focus and perception are everything. And what I mean by this is that whenever we focus on things that are scarcity inducing to the mind, whether it's time scarcity, financial scarcity, relationship scarcity, this is stressful to the mind. And it'll run processes that are associated with this stress. And what it will do is it'll typically kind of optimize for the short term and hurt you in the long term through these processes. So this is not really something you want to be doing for a very long time, especially in today's environment, because most people are not in danger right now, like in the current exact moment. And that's kind of what those processes were made for. We actually want to shift more to an abundance thinking, because that's more of a long-term approach. And with the abundance thinking, where we think, like there's plenty of this, there's plenty of the things that I want out there, there's plenty of love, there's plenty of attention, there's plenty of success out there for me, then the mind actually shifts into a very positive creative state, and it's more conducive to actually creating these things. And so what I mean by focus and perception are everything, is that what we focus on is everything, because we can focus on the scarcity or we can focus on the abundance. There's always evidence for both, especially in today's world. It's very ambiguous. It's not like we're living in, like caveman days where things were a little bit more clear cut and danger was very immediate. And so when you focus your mind on that abundance, then you get the repercussions of that. And those repercussions are typically a lot better for you psychologically. So if you're able to train your mind to focus on the signs and clues of abundance, then you're going to have a much healthier mind and you're going to be able to accomplish more. But the natural state for us is to kind of have this negative appraisal. We tend to have like a skewing towards the negative in psychology. And most of us will see the scarcity over seeing the abundance. So that's why training the focus and the perception is so important.
Do you know where the phrase "I can neither confirm nor deny" came from?
I don't.
Way back in the Cold War, we find out that the Soviets have lost a sub in the Pacific Ocean. They don't know where it is, but we do. So we got to come up with a way how we're going to get this submarine. And we also have to do it in such a way that the Soviets don't know what we're doing. Some of your former colleagues in the CIA hatch a plan. We're going to build a giant ship, and the ship's going to open up in the bottom, and a giant arm is going to come out of the bottom of the ship, go down to the bottom of the ocean, and pull this submarine up. So they contact Howard Hughes, kind of eccentric billionaire, kind of the Elon Musk of his day in some ways. And they say to Mr. Hughes, "We want you to be the cover story for this, and we want you to say that you are mining some kind of rare mineral off of the ocean floor, and because you're such an eccentric billionaire, people will buy this." Howard Hughes says, "Sounds good to me." So they build this ship, the Glomar Explorer. They go out, they find the submarine, bottom of the ship opens up, arm goes down, they pull the submarine up, breaks in half, about halfway up when they're pulling it. So they're able to get some of the ship, some of it was lost forever. Did we get good intelligence off of that? Some say yes, some say no. A lot went into that. Billions of dollars, built this ship, the whole deal. And people thought, well, whether we got good intelligence out of it or not, no one will ever even know that this happened. Until one day, I believe it was the LA Times. Some through a weird series of events finds out what happened, and they contact CIA and they say, "Did you guys build this ship with an arm to get a Soviet submarine and use Howard Hughes as the cover story?" They got the whole thing. The CIA said, "We can neither confirm nor deny." The Glomar Explorer was, the whole thing. That's where the phrase "we can neither confirm nor deny" came from.
Baby, if you haven't been on Hunted TikTok, where have you been? Because this one is a dude. This is Katie Santry, and she thinks her house is haunted. And baby, Katie is going through. One morning, she woke up, went to the sunroom where she works at, and her laptop was destroyed. Everything was disheveled. Everything was. Now, here's the kicker. The house has alarms, so no one broke. She closed the double doors so the dogs can't get in. So she X'd that part. The only thing she could think of is the hole that she had to dig to build a fence. And kind of find out it's a 6-foot rug in it. Yes, there's a rug that is wrapped up couple of feet under the ground, buried under a tree. So Katie tells the story and she's like, we're just gonna leave it alone. We're gonna rebury it. We can't dig it up. Everybody's like, baby, you need to call the police. You need to figure out what the fuck is going on. We need to know what's in the ground. So that's what Katie does. She calls the police. Police look at it and it was like, well, we're not gonna investigate something we can't really tell, but it's weird that a whole rug is under the ground, under a tree. So Katie said she's gonna leave it alone. Again, us like nosy TikTokers, we was like, nah, bro, you need to do. So Katie asked for Ohioans to find her a cadaver dog, somebody that could look in the ground, penetrate, find what's going on. While she was waiting on that, she contacted the realtor. The realtor is best friends with the daughter of the family who lived there, who was the only family that's ever lived there. Nobody has ever rented that place. And the daughter doesn't know anything about the rug. She said any pets that they ever had were cremated. Nobody's ever been buried. Where the fuck did the rug come from? So the daughter said, hey, I'm going to drive out to my parents' old folks' home and find out what the hell is going on. Because she's invested now. Even the realtor's invested. Katie's prayers were answered when the HDL Construction of Hilliard, Ohio volunteered to dig up the rug. But before that could happen, Homicide gave her a call. They said they were on the way within an hour to dig up that damn rug. They were sending detectives, cadavers, dogs in the next hour. And she could not believe they showed the fuck up. Now at this moment, Katie is going live right now while the excavators and the detectives are there. She had to get off the phone because the news station showed up at her house. But baby, run to see this shit, because I'm gonna be waiting.
I have another Llorona video that I want to show you guys, and in this video you can actually see her. This video was submitted by Iris. I went ahead and tagged her down below, but before I show you the video, just quick little backstory. So Iris was in Honduras visiting family when she happened to wake up in the middle of the night to what sounded like all of the dogs of the whole neighborhood howling like crazy. As she started to wake up, she also realized that she could hear a woman faintly crying in the distance. This really confused her and made her afraid, so she decided to just kind of go back to sleep and try to ignore it. The next morning when she was talking to her cousin, she asked if they had also heard it, and they confirmed that yeah, that was in fact La Llorona, and this was a very common occurrence. Iris ends up going back home and completely forgets about the whole experience until the next time, about a year later, when she goes back to Honduras. When she gets here, her cousins now tell her that they actually now have a video of La Llorona. Apparently there was a cop that was patrolling the area that heard the commotion of all the dogs howling. He could also hear a woman crying in the distance that he decided to videotape. He had heard all the rumors of La Llorona and he wanted to pretty much see for himself. As he's hiding behind the bush, I'll show you guys the video. Here's a screenshot. If you happen to miss it, you can see like the white figure. She continues to walk. She almost looks like a mist and then completely disappears. As you guys know, I'm 100% a believer when it comes to La Llorona. Iris had a bunch of other stories having to do with La Llorona and her family and her cousins and her brothers. So if you guys want to hear those, let me know.
Now here's a plant you need to know about. One of the deadliest plants in North America. Poison hemlock. If any part of this plant is ingested, there's a good chance it could be fatal. In ancient Greece, this stuff was used to execute prisoners, such as Socrates, by being forced to consume it. It has smooth, hairless, green stems mixed with purple, and purple splotches like this. And this here is water hemlock, which is related to poison hemlock, but possibly even more toxic. And other than the name, these plants have no relation to eastern hemlock, which is an evergreen tree that I like to use to build shelters with. And here's a poison hemlock look-alike, but it's edible. They look kind of similar, but unlike poison hemlock, Queen Anne's lace has hairy stems and small hairs underneath the leaves. They also have what's called bracts that grow underneath the flower. Many times, but not always, there will be a dark purple flower in the center. Poison hemlock usually grows a lot taller, and here's some yarrow growing next to it. It's a lot shorter. Yarrow looks kind of similar too, but it also has hairy stems and more feathery looking leaves. Yarrow is medicinal, so forage carefully, and don't eat any plants that you're not 100% sure about.
It even says it right there. All right, so here we have the controversial gap coin. Now, most of you people have no clue what this hole right here is for. Most of you guys think it goes on your key ring. It does not. All right, so let me give you a demonstration. All right, let's use the tool. So there we go. So we need to open this up to 0.065. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that without damaging it using this coin. So check this out. You place your spark plug ground strap in there just like that, and if you look closely you can see that the coin never makes contact with the electrode or the porcelain piece. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to ever so slightly, and we're going to come here and we're right there, boom, one shot. All right, so that's the gap coin, my friend. Like and follow.
Here's some bizarre physics that I discovered by accident. I have this stack of magnets on my whiteboard, and one day I bumped the stack of magnets and they started oscillating, doing this kind of cool rolling motion. And then it just kept going. And in fact, it never seems to stop. The stack kind of slowly works its way down the whiteboard. The only thing that will sometimes make this thing of magnets stop moving is if it runs into some writing on the whiteboard. So here's some writing. And in this case, you hear the frequency increase. It leaves kind of this cool path through the whiteboard marker, but it actually keeps going and then speeds back up to some normal speed. And then here in this whiteboard marker, it finally stops. So anyways, a super cool random example of cool physics.
Most modern Christians have no idea that the word hell is an indirect pagan loan word, and when used in English, it's actually used in place of 4 different words in the Bible: Sheol, Hades, Gehenna, and Tartarus. And each of those words meant something a little bit different, which is why there's a whole lot of confusion and varying beliefs within Christianity as to what hell actually is. So in a prior video, I talked about the etymology of hell, which led to a spirited discussion on the history of Sheol and Hades and where these terms have been translated as hell in the Bible, and also how a lot of our modern ideas about hell just aren't in the Bible, like Satan and demons torturing human souls, Satan ruling in hell, all that stuff. It's not in the Bible, but there was a word that was translated into hell in English, a word that Jesus used that struck absolute terror into the hearts of ancient Jews: Gehenna. Oh, today's video, it might just set you on fire. And let's just get it out of the way. Sorry, Margaret, Gehenna was not a garbage dump outside the walls of ancient Jerusalem. Oh, baby, it's time to check that cognitive dissonance and get ready, because the factual history on this one is going deep. So stick around to the very end. Gehenna is the term Jesus really used to depict the destiny of the wicked. And Jesus is the one who uses this term in the Gospels, and it also makes one appearance in the book of James. Gehenna is a Greek transliteration of the Hebrew Gehenna. In the Old Testament, Gehenna is a place name of a specific valley southwest of Jerusalem. And geographically, it's used 13 times in the Hebrew Bible. In Joshua 15 and 18 as a geographical place, in 2 Kings 23, 2 Chronicles 28 and 33, and Jeremiah 32, it's referenced to historical events. And this is the important part. It's mentioned 5 times in Jeremiah and prophecies where God will punish those who have abandoned the Israelite faith. And it's the valley referred to in Jeremiah 31 and Isaiah 66. Because Gehenna had a nasty history. It's where King Ahaz established pagan sacrifices, where children were passed through the fire, with Jewish traditions saying that they were burned alive. 2 Kings 16:3 says Ahaz sacrificed his own sons there, and 2 generations later, King Manasseh did the same thing in 2 Kings 21. 2 generations after that, Josiah became king, and he initiated vast reforms in 2 Kings 23 to purify the land and centralize worship in Jerusalem. And one of his targets was the Valley of Gehenna, which now had the name the Place of Fire. Josiah's reforms were brutal. 2 Chronicles records Josiah of burning the bones of dead pagan priests on their altars, cleansing Judah and Jerusalem from sin. That's what happened in this valley. But the memory of what happened in the Valley of Gehenna didn't just vanish. Later, prophets like Jeremiah and Isaiah made tons of visual callbacks to this valley because it was powerful imagery for people who loved powerful imagery. Gehenna is strongly alluded to in Isaiah 66, which, if you know your links between the Old and New Testaments, you know Isaiah 66 was a favorite of Jesus in his teachings. And Isaiah 66 depicts a future battle outside Jerusalem where God protects the righteous inside the city while destroying the wicked outside the city with fire and sword, with the righteous overlooking the dead bodies in the valley where the worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. Jesus' imagery is undeniably connected to Jeremiah, portraying a terrible battle where the dead are left unburied and consumed by scavengers. And this theme is further linked to the Valley of Slaughter in Jeremiah, as expressed in Isaiah 30, where it refers to the great day of slaughter associated with Israel's salvation and the defeat of her enemies on the day of the Lord. Now you might be saying, Ken, what the heck does any of this have to do with hell? In Hebraic consciousness, the people who Jesus was speaking to, Gehenna symbolized a place of utter annihilation. And come closer, this might upset you. Let me use this chance to address a well-known myth that shared its truth in a number of study Bibles and seminaries all over the place online. It was even taught to me when I was in school that Gehenna was a garbage dump outside the city of Jerusalem where refuse, trash, and even dead bodies were thrown into and buried. That's a myth. Because number one, there's zero archaeological evidence of Gehenna being used as a garbage dump. The garbage dumps of ancient Jerusalem have been discovered on the southeast side of the city. Number 2, there are 0 attestations of Gehenna being a garbage dump. And number 3, the earliest mention anyone can find of Gehenna being a burning garbage dump comes from a Jewish rabbi circa 1200 AD named David Kimhi in his commentary to Psalm 27. He had never even been to Jerusalem and said himself that he was making an allusion. The earliest reference to Gehenna as a garbage dump came 1200 years after Jesus. But the valley of Gehenna, aka Gehenna, was full of powerful imagery for ancient Jews. And during the intertestamental period and the rise of apocalyptic literature that were popular at the time, like Enoch, and as the Hebraic views of the afterlife took on a greater depth, like we talked about last video, during this period in many Jewish sects, such as the Essenes and Pharisees, Gehenna evolved to represent a place of continued torment after death. And that idea of torment in the afterlife continued well after Christ, demonstrated in pseudepigraphal writings like the Apocalypse of Abraham, to Baruch, and in the Mishnah and Talmud, particularly in the 4th century AD. So historically, and just like the other 3 words translated as hell, there's a shift in the understanding of what Gehenna actually was over time. Now, all the history aside, let's talk about Jesus' references to Gehenna, because Jesus mentions Gehenna a lot in Matthew 8 times, Mark 3 times, and Luke once. So if it's not a mythical garbage dump, we have to ask, why did Jesus use this imagery? So when Jesus used the word Gehenna, he is masterfully invoking powerful imagery established by Gehenna's history and Old Testament allusions in Isaiah and Jeremiah to describe the fate of the wicked upon God's final judgment. And it freaking worked, because here we are 2,000 years later and we're still talking about it. But when you understand the history of the Gehenna Valley and the way that the ancient Jews regarded it and its references, all of a sudden, things make more sense. And here's a big clue. When Jesus used the term Gehenna, there's something modern readers miss. Go look at Matthew 5:22, 5:29, 5:30, 10:28, 18:9, Mark 9:43, 9:45, 9:47, and Luke 12:5. When Jesus uses Gehenna, it's uniquely linked to the body. Its use in Matthew and Mark describes it as a place where sinners face consequences using vivid imagery of mutilated body parts. Mark 9:43 advises cutting off a sinful hand, stating it's better to be maimed than go into Gehenna. Jesus extends this metaphor to feet and eyes, creating a comparison between losing a body part and the total loss represented by Gehenna. And when you understand it this way, the message is clear. Address and recognize your sin, or it will lead to your complete destruction. And he uses these references from Isaiah and Jeremiah to pull this point home for his Jewish audience, who would have completely understood what he was wanting them to visualize. Jesus' use of Gehenna's imagery draws from scenes of devastation in Jeremiah's Valley of Slaughter and Isaiah's battle and resulting massacre. And Jesus, quoting Isaiah 66, intertwines these images of an unquenchable fire and undying worms to paint a grim picture of this complete and final destruction of wickedness and evil. And this fire is described as unquenchable, irresistible, fully consuming, and reducing everything to nothing, burning up whatever it touches. And references there are Ezekiel 20:47-48, Amos 5:5-6, and Matthew 3:12. It's terrifying imagery of the inevitability and thoroughness of God's destruction of wickedness and evil. And the real kicker here is that understanding Gehenna isn't just about unpacking ancient words or frightening someone into saying a prayer that's not in the Bible so they don't wake up in hell tomorrow. It's about realizing why Jesus used this potent symbol. Not to terrify us into compliance, but to shake us into self-examination and personal and social accountability. Jesus wielded the image of Gehenna not for just its horror, but as a dramatic call to physical and spiritual integrity. In essence, Gehenna transcends fiery imagery to become a stark emblem of divine justice and the high stakes of our choices when we choose to live lives of selfishness. It's a call to arms, urging us to steer our lives towards righteousness, to rethink our action, and to align ourselves more closely with what God envisions for us. It's answering the call of, how are we to live? Are we to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love others as we love ourselves? Or is it about selfishly getting ours and feeding our base desires, caring not a whit for others? When Jesus uses the word Gehenna, it's not about theology. It's about spiritual transformation. It's about carrying the gravity of Jesus' teachings into our daily lives and helping us become who God created us to be. Not just fearing judgment, but actively living lives that echoes the goodness and love of our Creator. It's about how we choose to release heaven here on earth as it is in heaven. God bless. See you soon.